Roundabouts and Firewood, a mental health approach for Irish guys. Chapter 15, A Stationary Problem. It worked. When we were at home and Cian put his hand on part of the table that I was certain was going to cause infections, I'd challenge him to a race or a long jump contest, and then I'd sprint out of the house and wait for my son to catch up. If it was raining, I'd run into the living room and announce that a puffle fight was about to begin. For the next hour, we would move around the living room and throw stuffed animals at each other. If we were in town and Cian put his hand on bird crap and thoughts of highly infectious bird flu became my primary concern, we ran and played in the park. During those oppressive months of November through February, when the rain rarely took a day off, Cian and I would go to the top floor of Penny's and play hide and seek. At the shopping mall, we would race from one end to the other until we were exhausted. By intentionally employing my OCD energy, I was the fun dad. There was one place I couldn't move, and this led to a money-making policy for Cian. On one side of the Tralee Town Park is the Satira, the National Folk Theatre of Ireland. Besides hosting a number of performances, the Satira also exhibits artwork. Whenever the ticket office is open, anyone can stop by and see what's on display. Cian and I would often check out the latest exhibit and discuss which pieces we liked the most. By the age of 5, Cian was halfway through his junior infant year. On a day that I picked him up from school, he was quick to remind me that we had to return to the Satira. The previous day we had stopped by and discovered that a photographer's work was being showcased. We had only been in there for about 10 minutes when we had to leave because the ticket office was closing. I had promised Cian that we would return the next day, look at the photographs again, and then head across the street to the Brandon Hotel so he could have the nutritious meal of chips and ice cream. As I snapped Cian into the booster seat of my Toyota Urus, he dropped one of his toys. When I went to retrieve it, I discovered a white powdery substance on the floor mat. It looked like mashed up chalk. It probably was, since some chalk from a blackboard had fallen into one of my tote boxes that I brought to schools. Cian had probably taken it out of the box, dropped it, and stepped on it. Also, it could have just been dust from cement or a host of other things that shouldn't cause concern. A number of irrational thoughts raced across my mind, but the CBT work I'd been doing kicked in, and I was able to recognize these thoughts were cognitive distortions, unrealistic interpretations of what my eyes saw. I settled on the idea that what was on the floor was harmless, so I picked up the toy and gave it to Cian. I felt good about my response to the situation. I got into my seat and started driving. I glanced in the rearview mirror to check on Cian. That was a mistake. Nothing good was going to come from seeing that toy in his hand, and nothing good did. I returned to the idea that the white powder was dangerous. I tried to reason with myself, tried to argue back that this was just an OCD episode, and if I worked through this one, it would make me mentally stronger for future episodes. All I needed to do was hang on for 5 minutes. That's how long it was going to take to get down to the parking lot of the Satira, which is located at one end of the park where we could run on the grass, on the trails, and even roll down a hill. Movement, the panacea I'd come to rely on, was well within reach. I turned up the music and tried to concentrate on that. 5 minutes strapped in a car with nothing but my thoughts was far too long. Since movement wasn't an option, I needed another outlet, something to release the negative energy that was building up. I chose to scream at the person causing the problem, me. No matter how loud the music was, it could not compete with what my vocal cords produced that afternoon. Would you please stop being an idiot? You can't do this. It will be fine. He will be fine. You're acting like a stupid baby. Stop it. Do you hear me? I said stop this crap. There's nothing wrong. Listen, there is nothing wrong and you're making it up. So shut up and deal with it. Don't you see? You're just being a stupid piece of shit. That's what you are right now. A dumb, stupid piece of idiotic shit. Do you understand? Just stop, because I'm not going to have another one of those days. With that off my chest, I felt better. We pulled into the parking lot and I switched off the engine. When I turned around, I saw that Cian's eyes were watered up and he was trying not to cry. What's the matter? You were yelling. It scared me. But not at you. I was yelling at me. It scared me, he repeated, as a few tears dripped down his face. Cian, I yell at myself sometimes. Normally, you're not around to hear it. This time you were, but it was all at me, nothing at you. It happened again. OCD kicked my ass and Cian got the brunt of it. Only this time, I thought I had made the right choices. I had given him the toy, I had driven away, and when movement wasn't an option, I went for another route. Screaming at myself was not something new. I had used it as an outlet ever since I was a teenager. I normally did it alone, but a few friends would attest that I occasionally did do it in front of them. It was always clear I was yelling at me and no one else. While Cian had become accustomed to my odd OCD behavior, he wasn't used to me voicing my displeasure for the simple reason that, up until that day, I had not done it in front of him. There had been plenty of times when we'd been at the house, and I had either ran upstairs to the bathroom, gone out to my car, or sprinted down the road so I could berate myself in private. But this was the first time with him right next to me. Because I was certain I would freak out in the car at some point in the future, I knew this wouldn't be the last time my son would watch me scream at myself. It was either that or yield to the anxiety. Cian, you may not realize this, but I yell at myself sometimes. To be honest, I've yelled at myself when you were home, but I always went somewhere so that you couldn't hear me. Sometimes when I get upset, I yell and scream, but it's at me. I don't like it. It scares me. I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to fight the OCD, and sometimes the best way for me to fight it is to yell. I'm trying to tell me not to give in to it. I'm definitely only yelling at me, not you. You just need to learn to laugh when I yell at myself. Half of my childhood was spent laughing at Grandpa Dick yelling and screaming. Cian's face brightened up with a smile. Grandpa Dick yelled a lot? And it was with this question that I understood Cian's normal was a dad with OCD, but my normal was a dad yelling at himself, a car, or the world in general, but not at other people. An explanation was in order. Chapter 16, Grandpa Dick. When I was a kid, expressing yourself with volume and visible anger was expected. In my neighborhood, it was considered free entertainment, and few people could be as entertaining as my dad when he got upset. On a daily basis, he was yelling about something. When Sister Eusebia or any of the other nuns called him about my latest transgression in school, he would put the phone down and scream, "Why are they calling me? I didn't do a damn thing. Now I'm being punished because my son broke one of their precious commandments. They aren't my commandments. I only have one. Leave me alone." Whenever my mom suggested that it was wrong to steal a Christmas tree from the Kiwanis Club, who sold them for charity every December, my dad would cry out, "You don't understand. There was no one there at 2 a.m, so I just took the tree from the lot. If no one is there, then who can I pay?" When they passed a law making it illegal to drive with an open can of beer, he ranted for weeks, letting everyone at work, at home, and in the neighborhood know, "This law makes no sense. All it's making me do is hide something they know I have. They're making me lie, and I want to tell the truth." It wasn't that he was yelling at a person. He was yelling at the world. And no matter how angry he got, no matter how frustrated he became, no matter the indignity he seemed to be suffering, no matter how serious he appeared to be at that moment, I always laughed at him, and so did anyone else who was nearby. Never, not once, did he get angry about this. He'd shoot you a glance, realize he was someone worthy of being ridiculed, and then join in with the laughter. Things didn't always make sense to Dick Ziglinski. The way he saw it, he was put on this earth to work, fix cars, volunteer for everything, and drink. When something prevented this, he screamed, swore, screamed some more, and we laughed. It was a system that worked for everyone. All this I explained to my son, and the more tales I told him about Grandpa Dick announcing his problems to the world, the more my son laughed and the more he wanted to know. With his mood now changed, I said, "Look, Cian, I can promise you that I'll work on getting better with the OCD, and I have been. But every so often, I'm going to yell and scream. Grandpa Dick yelled about many things in his life. He did it a lot. Grandma Sue, your Uncle Todd, my friends, and everyone in the neighborhood laughed at him, and he would eventually laugh back. When I yell, I'm yelling about the OCD. I'm yelling at myself, not you. You're going to have to learn to laugh at me." "I don't know if I can," Cian said. "I'll tell you what. I'll give you €1 if you smile when I yell at myself, and I'll give you 3 if you start laughing. Trust me, it will help me see what an idiot I am." Cian did not object to the new plan.